Sorry about the whoa, shit. So hi everybody, guess what, I've got a new e-bike. As you know, I had a Duot C29 before and I used it on the Hebridean Way, which was 225 miles, and it worked really well, and that was only like a £600 bike. Anyway, I was approached by Cyrusher and they kindly said to me, would I like to try something a wee bit more modern and maybe a bit higher spec. So this is the Cyrusher Zenith, which is a front suspension fat tired mountain bike. So you've got big 4-inch tyres on here. It's front suspension, it's a rigid rear end on it, integrated battery, which is fantastic as well. That's a bit of a step up for me. You've got 180mm hydraulic disc brakes front and rear. Also worth mentioning that this bike comes with proper rubber bolt-on grips, because a lot of the bikes I've had again around about this budget are solid plastic moulded grips that slide on. Yeah, so you've got two options on how you power this and how the pedalling style. You've got torque or cadence. I think I've been in cadence, which kind of senses just how much pressure you're putting on the pedal, and it's a much more natural way of basically cycling the bike, of pedaling the bike. It's much more natural. Some of the bikes I've had in the past are a bit cheap, so what happens is the motor tends to push on even when you stop pedaling, and it's slightly disconcerting because it's almost like the bike has a mind of its own, whereas this is a much more natural system. So it feels like a more expensive bike. It just senses you're pedaling. If you put more pressure on the pedal, the power will up slightly, which you can see actually on the screen. I noticed that today when I was riding, but it means it's much more efficient. It's really working with you as a rider. So it comes obviously partly assembled in the box, but actually it probably only took me about an hour or so just to build it. So just a few simple things you have to do, and all the tools are supplied. It comes with a toolkit. One other thing worth mentioning is it's one of the few bikes I've had that doesn't come with a pump, and some of them even in the past have come with locks, but got a pump anyway, got a lock, so I'm not too concerned about it. But all the tools that are required to build it and obviously just to maintain it are all there. The control unit for the whole thing is pretty intuitive, so it's power on and power off. You've got 5 power settings which you control from the plus and minus, and then you've got a crawl setting, so if you're having to push the bike on steep terrain, and then your information will take you through the different cycles about mileometer, etc. You've also got the light switch, so you can turn on your headlight and your tail lights simultaneously. There's no horn built into this, you have to rely on the good old-fashioned metal bell. Also worth mentioning that it's an LG battery, so you know it's a good brand and you should have good longevity on it. Comes with obviously the charger. The only thing I would say that it seems to be missing compared to some of the bikes I've had in the past is there are no mud guards as standard. So today I was riding in rain and mud, and I got one wet backside and a very muddy rucksack. So it may be that I'll have to add a mud guard to it. Not so much in the front, didn't notice it, probably because of the width of the frame, but on the rear you certainly get a lot of spray back. And it is meant to be pretty torquey. I think it's 95 Newton meters. I've never been a great fan of the standard seats you get in a lot of these kind of cheaper e-bikes, because they always look like comfort over style, but actually this is not a bad mix. I'm quite happy with the saddle that's on this, and it was very comfortable today. It's got a nice thick padding on it. No issues with it, but it doesn't look quite as dorky as some that I've seen. So what I'll do is I'll power this on and show you what the display looks like. I think it's really clear actually. So it's a nice full colour display, a decent size, almost like a wee mini iPad. Very clear, nicely positioned as you're riding. I've started to recharge it again. You can see your battery bars are there. It's set for me at the moment in miles per hour, which it's limited to 15.5 as I say under assistance. So although it's got no rear suspension, you do actually get kind of some form of suspension off these huge tyres. 4-inch by 26-inch fat tyres just make it a lot more compliant off-road. You also get a big footprint, so in mud and grass it's just a lot more secure, I've found in my experience. It also has front suspension on this. It doesn't actually specify the actual travel on these, but I would say they're about 3 inches. It looks to be about 75mm. You've also got a built-in LED headlight, which I haven't tried at night yet, but it looks pretty powerful because it's got a number of little elements in it. Yeah, these forks are lockable, so you can adjust both the preload on the left hand side and you can lock them out on the front for super efficiency as well. The gear changing is Shimano Tourney 7-speed, so pretty low budget stuff, but kind of standard on a lot of e-bikes around this price. I had this on my previous e-bike. I found it super reliable, absolutely no issue. You've got a quick release to change up, and then to change down you just push on the thumb shifter. As you can see by the size of this, it's a removable 780 watt-hour battery in it, which gives it its good range. That's actually slightly more than I had in my previous e-bike, and that should mean that it should be good for bike packing and general road touring before you need to charge too often. Because we found on the Hebridean Way is that you often want to just get a top-up charge, but you have to go into a cafe, and it just is really handy if the battery pops out the frame and you can take it in, plug it into a 3-pin plug. So I do think it's a really handsome looking machine. This is the dark grey colour. You can get it in a couple of other colours. So it's a 250 watt rear motor. It's limited to 15.5 miles an hour, so it's UK legal. There's no throttle on it, it's just normal pedalling. The standover height here is 30 inches, which means that me, at 5'8", I find this perfectly ergonomically comfortable. And also my wife, who was riding it today, said it's a really friendly bike, so she found no problem. She wasn't intimidated by it, although it looks pretty intimidating at first. Once you're on it, the riser bars are just at a nice shape and position. You've got obviously hydraulic brakes, so it stops much more efficiently than a cable operated system. But overall, it just means it's easy to get on and off, and even comes with a little dinky. It's a 7-speed, which is actually, I thought maybe I'd be lacking something with just having the 7 speeds, but because of the sheer torque in this thing, it just makes it simple. The tail lights here are actually built into the stays, and they're in both sides. It also has brake lights, so when you hit the brake levers, these will light up. But yeah, I really like it. It reminds me of a Land Rover Defender, but just look at the construction on that with the double down tube on it. This is the battery in here. There's then a secondary down tube here, and then the tube across here. So the whole thing is built really strongly. I do like the look of it. I think it's great. I do like fat bikes, so I'm thinking of using this for bike packing and for some kind of off-road adventures. I've already done 30 miles in it, and it dropped from a full charge to about just below half a battery. So the claimed range of about 60 miles doesn't seem ridiculous. So it's good to see that you've got the choice of cadence or torque, and you can switch between them on the display above. Cyrusher has supplied this to me free of charge, but they haven't told me what to say. But enough of the tech specs, let's get out and ride it and just find out what it's actually like to ride, and I'll try and give you an impression. Right, so let's start this up and have a go. So I am in power position 1, and I'm in 5 of 7 gears, and I'm just going to try and pull away from scratch. And we're away. And I'm immediately up to 10 miles an hour plus, hitting 12. I'm about to hit a wee hill here, so let's just see how it copes with this hill. I'm going to have to come down the gears, so I'm down into number 2, but still on power 1. So far so good. So what I'll do is we'll just try and pedal away here, and I'll try and give you an idea of how quickly it picks up speed. And away we go. Yeah, so literally within a few seconds you're up to maximum speed, 15, there you go, and that's us. Just tops out about 16 miles an hour. So acceleration, tremendous. Pulls away really quickly, we're nearly up to 15 miles an hour already. Great fun, flies along, no problem at all. What I'll try and do now is just a wee braking test for you. Yeah, that's pretty quick. The other thing I do like is the brake lights, so you can see them there. Partly to do with the sheer size of the footprint you've got front and rear on fat bike tyres. Stopping distance is pretty good considering the weight in it. Brakes I wasn't so impressed with initially, but now that I've now done 31 miles, they're bedding in really nicely and it's stopping very quickly. So hydraulic brakes, definitely a plus on this for this kind of budget of bike. Okay, so one of the final things I want to do before we go off-road is we're going to take the power off on the bike on the flat and just see how draggy it is. Assuming you'd run out of battery and you had to nurse the thing home, is it an absolute nightmare? Is there a lot of drag off the motor? I've been there a few times, so let's find out. Right, okay, so we're now in 0. So I'm pedaling along in 5th gear, and I'm actually doing 17 or so miles an hour on the flat with no problem, no assist. As you can see, if you look at the pink dial, there's absolutely 0 power coming out the engine or out the motor, and I'm easily doing 20, yeah, nearly 20 miles an hour actually on the flat, so absolutely no issues if you should run out of power, which is amazing. I would have thought the big fat tyres would be more draggy. and then we can shoot straight down the hill here, and that's us nearly up at 20 mile an hour. I'm looking forward to using it for bike packing. Should be very good. Plenty of room in the frame actually to get bags in between the down tube, and then I'll obviously put the tent on the front, and then I've got a suspended rear bag I can use behind the saddle. But I think it'll be an excellent little bike packing expedition bike. But you can probably hear how it sounds a bit like a Land Rover, the sound of those tyres. Okay, so let's do another wee speed test. I am in 4th gear, I'll go for 3rd. I'm in power 1. Let's just kick off from start here. Okay. $16 miles an hour straight away. That's me run out of power. But as you can see, it picks up, you can hear me over this wind noise, it picks up really quickly. So 20 odd mile an hour on the flat is actually quite easy. I've hit a bit of a headwind now, so I'll need to come down and watch the pink dial as the power kicks in. That's actually responding to the pressure on the pedals because of the mode I've got it in just now, which I find the most natural. So although I have to work a wee bit harder in the mid-range gears here to climb this hill, that's it, we've reached our kind of max output. And as I accelerate beyond the 15.5, you'll see how the power drops off, and it's just me pedalling as normal. What I have noticed is when you hit the brakes, the front tends to pull slightly to the left. I don't know if it's to do with the fat tyre and the disc being offset to the left, but there's a slight tug to one side. So, absolutely no problem on the roads, it's lovely. I think what we need to do is just try an off-road section and find out how it handles mud and dirt, and I think it'll do really well with the big fat tyres. A wee bit of a climb there, but we're coming down into a downhill now. I'm going to try a bit more power. So that's us in 2nd. Let's try 3, 4, 5. Makes absolutely no difference to it. I cannot feel any perceptible difference unless you're on a hill. Yeah, you still need a wee bit of effort unless you use more power on the road. I would say I quite like it because it feels quite natural. So the more pressure you put in the pedal, you can actually see the power bars climb. Okay, let's find out how good the headlamp is on this bike. 4 LEDs in the lamp seem to make it really effective. That's a great light. You can see the tail lights are very bright as well. That's before you hit the brakes. Okay, let's find out how this bike handles the off-road course side of things. If I don't lose my phone over all these bumps. Yeah, I'm very impressed by just how playful it is in this kind of terrain. Oodles of torque in position 1 and just leave it. I'm actually in gear 1 now as well. It's the lowest gear, and you can see you just pedal on a wee bit and it flies through. Absolutely no issue. It's very playful in this. It's actually really good. It's actually quite flickable for such a fairly hefty bike with big tyres on it. It manoeuvres really nicely through this tight stuff. I'm impressed. It's not slow to turn. It's actually quite sharp on the front end, which frankly is a surprise to me. Whoa! Yeah, it's great. It almost feels like a full suspension bike on this. This back tyre's doing a great job. I've just taken the sting out of all these wee trails. Climb up the hill here. We've got some technical steps, we'll avoid them. We'll just cut through the middle. Here we go. Lovely. Plenty of power, absolute tons of torque for hitting the berms. Don't know how easy this is for you to see. We'll stick to the blue run for the moment because I think the red one might be a bit too extreme. Let's go blue this way. Absolute wads of torque. I'm in second gear and the first power setting, and we are flying around it. Absolutely no problems. Big tyres are taking a lot of the sting out of the gravel and the stones here, so that's working well. Oh yeah, there's absolutely tons of torque. There's almost too much torque in this. Down this big dip. Whoa! Suspension worked well there. We're absolutely flying around here. Just you just have to turn the pedal a couple of times and you've got so much power. It's funny because I didn't really think of this as a particularly good hill climber, but on single track it's got wads of power to use. I'm absolutely rolling over this. The fat tyres actually really suit this kind of roller coaster type course. Works really well. It's actually very enjoyable. Hard to keep it on camera, but there we go. We'll go through this water splash area here. Whoa! That's the bike soaked. So there you have it, folks, my first impressions of the Cyrusher Zenith. £1,200. I've got a discount link which I'll put in the description below for you as well. But it's amazing value for money, I have to say. I mean, if you were buying a big branded bike direct from a dealer, I think you'd be double the price. I think you're looking at about 2,400 to 2.5 grand for something similar spec. Obviously there's dealer markup in that, and I think that's one of the strengths of the kind of Cyrusher proposition, is that you're buying direct. It's a bit like other camping equipment that I've got. If you're buying direct from people like Dustin and the like, then they're cutting out the retail margin, so you're getting much more for your money. Performance wise, the only downside I have for it is the fact that it's a 7-speed rear cassette on this. Means that on road hills you have to crank up a bit of power and take it right down to 1 just to deal with some of the road hills you're on. So in that sense it almost feels slightly underpowered, but I think it's the gearing more than anything else. But what I did notice was on the off-road, that was an absolute blast. In the minimum power, minimum gears, or just leave it in 3, I can just ride around absolutely everything. The suspension on the front works really smoothly, really nice, no clanking, no bottoming out, no topping out. And the tyres just provide a hell of a lot of grip, which was great for confidence, and yet it's light and flickable. It belies its weight because it does look like a bit of a beast. And I think that overall that's probably my lasting impression at the moment, is that despite it looking like a bit of a giant of a bike and quite intimidating in some ways and quite hefty, I mean it's a good number of kilos to lump about on the road and particularly on the trail, it just feels really light and nimble. So yeah, excellent bike. I'm really looking forward to bike packing on this, and I'll be out soon. I'll do some follow-up videos on it when I'm actually bike packing, and we'll just see how that goes. But yeah, looking forward to it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you out there soon.